Hey everybody, GC13 here, and welcome to the Summer Camp Island Conspiracy Corner. The Emily Ghost Institute for Manners and Magical Etiquette is the premier school for manners on Summer Camp Island. It also happens to be the only school for manners on Summer Camp Island. Well, what does that matter, as long as Emily Ghost is a good teacher? It wouldn't, I suppose, but there's one teeny tiny little problem. Emily Ghost is an absolute fraud. I mean, how do we even find out about this school? Oh right, from Stuart, a known jerk. I'm sure he knows all of the best manners schools around. Throw in the fact that he has a financial interest in promoting it, and that means his recommendation carries a lot of weight. I'm sorry, where are my manners? It's very rude to be so sarcastic. Much like it's rude to punch someone in the face. And yet that's what Ghost the Earnest, the only previous graduate from the school we ever see, immediately threatens Oscar with after Oscar opens a door for him. Sure, Emily Ghost demands he retake her class after she watches him punch Oscar in the face for a while, but not only can we assume she's getting paid for it, you'd also think she could have spoken up sooner. For some reason, though, she just doesn't like Oscar. Yes, he did rudely attempt to hold a door open for her when they first met, and perhaps isn't the kind of student she'd prefer to teach, but she outright refuses to make any alterations to her lesson plan, no matter how clearly Oscar would benefit, and in fact seems to delight in withholding that one crucial answer he came to her class for. In fact, I would dare to say that Emily Ghost is quite rude herself. Perhaps being rude to rude people would be acceptable in the wider world, but she teaches a class on manners for crying out loud. She'd have to expect that her students wouldn't know how to act yet. A good teacher would model proper behavior, rather than simply demand it. But then, I'm not convinced that Emily Ghost even knows what the right manners are anymore. I'll have to take her word on the Molar Mole dinner parties, but we've seen monsters at a dinner table before, and they don't sit hunched over their food. In fact, almost every bit of manners information she gives seems to be wrong. She says aliens love toots, but I don't recall ever seeing an alien toot, or be tooted at. Not even by Susie, who...
Yep, there she is.
Yeah. As for Sasquatches, supposedly one should never compliment their home, but the only Sasquatches we've ever seen live in a monastery. Maybe this is valid advice for talking to non-monks, but now that we're at the door opening, you'll see why I'm not so sure. Only open a door slightly for a yeti, kick a monster in the butt, witches come in through the skylight, and elves always forget things in their cars. That's what Emily Ghost says. Let's see... We can't actually be sure about the yetis, but we have seen one hold a door open for the yums she was teaching. Since they're small enough to worm their way through a door crack, this one doesn't look good for Emily Ghost, but I haven't seen how a yeti opens a door for a fellow adult. Kicking a monster in the butt is definitely just something Emily Ghost made up, though. We've seen monsters have a little bit of trouble with ordinary-sized door frames before, but no one in our very polite group of monsters kicks anyone in the butt to help them, and it's not like kicking them would help the door frame either. As for witches supposedly entering through the skylight, that's not how they prefer to do things either. Back before the island had a summer camp, the Coven never entered through the skylight, instead using a side window after broom practice. Alice did enter Susie's cabin through the skylight one time, but Susie had the front door locked up tight because she was pretending to be out of town. And, in the before times, Emma dropped into the school through the skylight, but only because she was already up there to capture the soggy old log spirit. And elves. We've never seen an elf with a car before, though we have seen two riding an anteater. Not even at the Great Elf Invention Convention, where the elves had to come all the way into the summer camp, did we see any elf cars. In fact, the only car I ever recall us seeing is in Hartford, always parked in the same spot on the street in front of the grocery store. And yes, that is the same car you see in the opening shot of the town square. Apparently, the grocery store just looks different from the air. With her giving out so much demonstrably false information, and being so prickly herself, I can see why Emily Ghost doesn't have many graduates, and why only Stuart is willing to promote for her. Maybe Emily Ghost's factoids and etiquette were good long ago, before magic retreated to the island. In that case, she might make a great history teacher, but she should stop teaching manners, because it is not her subject. What do you guys think, though? Would you sign up for Emily Ghost's class? Or do you think you're well-mannered enough? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't, and make sure you subscribe to the channel for more cartoon videos.